Today I'm going to be making a bow using bamboo. I'm using a piece of rubro marginata bamboo. It's a small timber bamboo. It is thin walled, which makes it a little difficult to make a bow out of. So you can look at my method here and you'll see a little bit different way to utilize the thin wall bamboo. A lot of plans for making bows out of bamboo use green bamboo. This one here is very close to dry, even though the outside looks green. Green bamboo will make a bow that works temporarily pretty well, but as it dries out, it'll tend to follow the string, which means maintain the shape of being bowed. That makes it weaker. Another drawback to using green bamboo is that when it does dry out, it's likely to be quite brittle and may snap, creating some nasty splinters. So to get around that, I'm going to try to build a bamboo bow from this particular piece. It is about 64 inches, 65 inches in length. And my goal is to make a bamboo bow using slats from this, such that as it dries out, it will still hold much of its original draw weight and hopefully not follow the string very much. So first thing you have to do is split this down the middle. Now that we have two pieces, one piece I intend to be the back of the bow. I'm going to make it and leave the internodes in place. So the back of the bow will actually be the inside of the bamboo. Then I'm going to make a somewhat shorter supporting piece of bamboo behind it, which I will cut out the internodes and then cut them together. So that is how I plan to make the bow. Okay, the next step is just to use a knife to kind of shape the bow. This piece will be on the belly, so I'm going to cut out the internodes. Okay, I'm cutting the nocks on my longest piece of bamboo. I just use standard knife. It's one good thing about bamboo, very easy to cut the nocks. Then I do a little bit of smoothing them using a chainsaw file. Doesn't have to be perfect. Do a little narrowing here so I can get the string over it. Now, one of the things I noticed is that when I split the bamboo, it's a little stiffer here. It kind of got closer to the edge here. It wasn't a good split. So normally I would like to nest these two about equal distance on both sides, kind of informal tillering, but I'm actually going to move a little bit up closer to here to where there's a little more support up at the top. I marked the midpoints. This is 63 inches nock to nock, the longer piece. This is 52.5 inches, the shorter piece. So I would prefer to have them even, the exact same on each side, but because I know this is a little bit weaker limb, I'm going to move my support up here a little bit so that it's a couple of inches farther up on this side than this side. Just kind of some informal tillering here. So what I will do is take some duct tape, make sure I've got this good and centered here. Go up here to the top. Now that I've got this, I could do the center for the handle. This would be a little rough to hold, so I cut a very small piece of bamboo to put in here to kind of round out the center. Should have been a little bit bigger piece, but this is what I had. So. This is not the smoothest nesting here. If I could have cut out a little bit more of the inner nodes, it would fit a little bit better. But should still work, no problem. And remember, my goal here is to make a bow that's quick and easy to make, but that will last for a while, that won't lose all of its poundage too quickly, and that will not follow the string as much as one made off of a single piece of bamboo that happens to be green. Okay, here is pretty much the finished bow. For greater weight, nothing to stop you from putting a third piece here. Might get a little thick around the handle. You definitely don't want any more width here because you want your arrow to be fairly close to the center. But let's string it up and see how it shoots. Okay, I'm just using a piece of 550 paracord. I did double overhand knots on each end. They're fairly easy to take apart if I need to change the length of the string. If you make a heavier bow, this will stretch. You can always, as it stretches, add a knot on each end to tighten it up. Okay, trying to shoot on a very windy day, so it hits reasonably well. Not the most attractive bow in the world, but it works. It's about 25 pounds, like I built it. Like I said, to add weight, you could add a third slat. Just make sure they're fairly thin so that they don't split. Okay, now for a test. If I don't fall here, I'm going to remove the string and see how much this follows the string. And it is fairly straight. Okay, fairly straight, not maybe a ½ inch of string follow. That's here from the belly to the top, and I think if left to sit a while, it will straighten out. So that's one of the goals, having something that will last a while, is one that just doesn't take on the shape of a completely bowed bow, okay, that returns to its shape pretty quickly. So fairly pleased with this. I think there's a lot of opportunity to make one better. This is like the third one I've made like this. Got the idea from Chinese crossbows, which seem to be made this way. So anyhow, a good way to make a practice bow.